Hello, you're listening to E-Bible Fellowship's new open forum excerpts, and now we present the following excerpt.
And so why don't we go to the first person on the phone tonight. Welcome to our open forum program. Please go ahead with your call.
Hi, Chris. Would you please read Genesis? I was looking at chapter 18, 1 through 4.
Okay. Genesis 18 and verse 1. And Jehovah appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree.
And your teaching on the biblical evidence for the end in 2033 has been really interesting, with Lot at the gate. And I couldn't remember, did you teach whether these verses are somehow tie in with the gate?
Well, no, I didn't. But as soon as you brought it up, the first thought that came into my mind. So yeah, you have a correct comparison, because notice now the 3 men are these messengers, and over when they're having conversation, they're telling Abraham that Sarah will have a child at the set time according to the time of life. And notice in verse 13, and Jehovah said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh? Because she laughed about it, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for Jehovah? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee. So we're hearing conversation between Jehovah and Abraham, and then the men came, and then the men leave. And so there's no doubt that these men are a figure, or God is appearing in the form of 3 men to him. And Abraham, as you're noticing, sat in the tent door, and he looked in verse 2, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground. So similar idea, similar spiritual picture. Tent door in the Bible, a tent, a tabernacle is a tent, and God, had Moses and Israel build a tabernacle in the wilderness, and Israel worshipped God in that tabernacle in Shiloh for hundreds of years. And it wasn't until the time of Solomon that a temple, a physical structure, was built. And it's interesting in the book of Jeremiah, when God is speaking of, one of the many ways he describes judging his people that points to the judgment on the churches, he speaks of judging their tabernacle. Well, the tabernacle at that point in Jeremiah hasn't been in existence for hundreds of years, since the days, it was in Shiloh. And so the language of tabernacle or tent is the same as a temple or house. The house of God, the temple of God, tabernacle of God. And Abraham at the tent door, and the door would point to Christ, point to the word of God, point to that point of communication between God and men. And so God is coming to reveal. And I wish I would have noticed this earlier, but we we went through Genesis 18 and I didn't notice it. And it wasn't until we got to chapter 19, and I didn't think of reviewing the previous chapter, but it ties in. What is God going to tell him? All kinds of things about his wife, Sarah, will have a child set time next year. That's God giving advance information, and also telling him his plan to destroy Sodom. So yeah, very, very good catch. Thank you for that.
Thanks for watching, and be on the lookout for more new open forum excerpts that will be added periodically.